YouTube, what's up? Graylan Stewart here, virtual wholesaler and entrepreneur. Today I want to tell you about a property that we got for $500. Can you believe that? We got a house, an actual single family house for 500 bucks. So let me break it down for you. So basically, this lead came in on an RVM, okay? And this was a couple months ago now. But so we did some marketing. We sent RVMs out to distressed homeowners, and the lady replied and said, "Yes, I do want to sell my house," right? So, anyways, since we're 100% virtual, my acquisition manager, did her thing and locked it up over the phone, like we do on 90% of our deals. Or actually, probably 98% of our deals. So this property came in. It's in a decent area. It's not in a great area. In this particular town, this deal, the ARV was probably in the 60 to 70 range. So let's just call it 65, right? And then according to the seller, keep in mind, sellers don't always tell you the truth. That's why we actually have to have boots on the ground and send somebody out there just to confirm what they tell us, right? So anyways, she talked to my acquisition manager and said, yeah, the house is decent. It's been vacant for 10 years though. That's a red flag for us as far as light bulb, going off. If it's vacant for 10 years, if any house sits for 10 years, whether it's a newer build or old, it's going to have issues because houses just deteriorate when they're not lived in, especially they're just sitting there for 10 years, with who knows what, rats infesting it or all kinds of rodents and different things, and just deterioration in general just from sitting, okay? So anyway, the property supposedly, had a couple of electric issues, but that weren't a big deal according to them. Obviously, they said it needed painting, it needed some possible flooring, and I guess they'd had some liens because the paint on the outside of the house was chipping off, so the city didn't like that, so they'd get liens for that on occasion. And the typical driving for dollars type of lead, whenever you're looking at a house, had a full mailbox because the seller didn't live in the same town. The grass got high occasionally, could use a new roof, probably windows as well, and just paint all chipped everywhere, right? It just looked like a distressed house, your typical house that we look for every day. So basically, this lead came in on an RVM, and then that RVM, we basically send a message similar to, hey, this is so-and-so, we are looking in the area to buy a couple of houses, hoping that you might be interested in selling. If you are, please give me a call back. Sorry I missed you, but call me back when you get a chance, right? Something along those lines. So when they call back, actually we have an IVR set up to where when they call in, they actually get a message again, basically saying, if you want to be connected to somebody live, press 1. If you want to be taken off our list and no replies, no further correspondence, just press 2 and we'll delete your number from our system. So anyways, the lady pressed 1, right? So she was connected with Ashley, our acquisition manager, and Ashley did her thing, went through the script, found out all the information, got the details of the property, and the lady ended up agreeing to a $20,000 deal. Okay, so keep in mind the house is worth 65, 70, maybe. Now, so if we do our math, I'm going to get my calculator just to check this out. So if we do our math on, let's just say $65,000 house. Now, if we do the normal formula, 75%, which works in most areas, that brings us down to $48,750. And she mentioned potential problems with the roof, the flooring, painting, and maybe some electrical. So let's just call those 4 things $5,000 each, for example. That's 20 grand. So let's just subtract 20 grand off of that. That brings us down to 28,750, right? So that means that's what we can sell this to a buyer. So we were like, okay, so 20 grand's a deal. It's not great, but it still leaves us 87.50 profit and maybe we can push our buyers to pay just a little bit more because there were some comps potentially closer to 70. So we could call it 70 ARV, but 65 to be conservative. So either way, 8 to 10, maybe 12,000 max on this deal, right? So, but here's the thing. The lady said, well, I really want somebody to come look at it. And actually couldn't figure out why, because, really the way we combat that as far as rebuttals or objections, when someone says, well, how can you buy a house without even seeing it? We just say, well, we buy 10 to 15 houses per month. So we know our area really well. We know exactly where we need to be at based on what you're telling me, right? So if all the things that you've told me is true as far as the repair goes, then we're comfortable at this price. We know that this is what we can pay, right? Because obviously we do our due diligence and we're looking what cash buyers are paying in the area. So we already kind of know what we can sell this property for. Because if you see my other video on how we figure 3 different ways of figuring the MAO, that's how we do it. We do the guaranteed way. Check that video out and you'll find out what that means. But basically it's a guarantee on how much we can sell this property for. It's a guarantee that we sell it because we already know what buyers are paying. Okay. Anyways, I digress. So Ashley locked it up over the phone for 20 grand, which is a decent deal. We've got an $8,000 to $12,000 profit margin built into that, which is great. Okay. Obviously we want to make more when we can, if we can. Okay. So the lady though, however, she was real adamant on somebody actually physically going there. Now keep in mind, we are 100% virtual and we always would have somebody go out there anyways, because we definitely need pictures and video and we need to confirm the condition that the seller told us, right? Because that's really the whole point. We need pictures and videos so that we can send that to our buyers and hopefully get a sight unseen offer, right? But we do want boots on the ground to get those pictures, video, and put a lockbox if it's vacant. Okay. But this lady was adamant on, she wanted to meet us out there, which we would have done anyways. But anyways, I happened to actually be in town at that very time that she wanted to meet. So she was driving from out of town, an hour or two. I was flying in that same day. So I was like, great, set it up and I'll meet her out there. So I met the seller out there. And before I even walked up to the house, introduced myself to her and her husband. And she told me kind of the whole story on it because I didn't really know much about it. I just knew that we locked up a deal. We already got the contract at 20 grand. It's worth potentially 65, 70. And that's really all I knew at this point. So I was just meeting the lady to appease her. And while I was there, I was going to do the boots on the ground job, right? Get the pictures and the video and the lockbox while I was there. So I meet the lady. And before we even go in the house, we're just standing outside in the driveway for probably 10 minutes. Now her husband's up there actually painting some of the trim work, because I guess the city was on him about, repainting. So he was actually painting the trim work and stuff with the door open. Now I could see inside the door just from the driveway that there was a ton of stuff in there. It was obviously a hoarder house, okay? So the lady was telling me, and also Ashley did tell me this, I remember now, that the house, she said that somebody broke in and scattered her things all over the place, so the house is a mess now. Okay, so I was like, okay, no big deal. I'm not sure why they would tell us that because it doesn't really matter as far as what we're doing. But so she's telling me her story, how she's had the house. It was her and her ex-husband's house. It's been vacant for 10 years because they fought over it for a long time. He finally gave it to her 10 years ago pretty much. But at the same time, she's like, she didn't know what to do with it. Obviously, she used to live in it. She's definitely a hoarder herself. She was just saying, because a lot of times hoarders, I don't know if you've ever watched the show Hoarders, but I actually find that show pretty entertaining because we actually come across those type of properties all the time. So I tend to watch that show. But anyway, a lot of times those people that do hoard, they're in denial. They don't really see it as an issue or a problem. And this lady was no different, right? She knew that she didn't want the property because they already lived somewhere else and wanted to get rid of it, but she didn't think she was a hoarder. She just said she had some stuff in there and somebody broke in and scattered it everywhere. But I'll tell you this, once I walked through that property, there was literally probably 6 feet of trash in the hallway and bedrooms. I literally had to duck to not hit my head on the ceiling. It's one of those kind. But anyway, we're talking on the driveway, and she's kind of describing the house before I go in, and she's just really wanting out. I mean, she really wanted out. She was tired of dealing with the city, tired of driving an hour and a half away from where she lived currently to come mow the house, and her new husband's got to paint it and just do all this maintenance on it, right? It was a huge headache. So she was basically begging me. She said, please buy this house. Well, we already had the contract too, right? So I'm not even sure what drove her to say these things to me, because we already had the property locked up at 20 grand, which was a decent deal for us. Not a home run, but not super skinny, but it's decent, right? But she was basically saying, hey, I need you to buy this house, because I was obviously downplaying a little bit. I'm like, yeah, it definitely needs a lot of work. And I could just see from the inside, because the door was open, that it was in huge disrepair and a ton of stuff to get out, right? So I was definitely kind of playing that card and kind of posturing her to give us a better deal, because 20 grand wasn't going to cut it for me. So anyway, she was saying, hey, I mean, we'll even sell it to you. I don't care if we get $100. That's literally what she said. I mean, I would actually even just give it to you if you'll just take this burden off of me. We want to be done with the house and get rid of it, right? So I was like, wow, okay, she is really in disrepair and distress, and she wants to get rid of it. So I was like, hey, I mean, I agree that it's probably not worth a whole lot, in the current condition, but we want to bring it back to life and bring it back to where it needs to be for the neighborhood, right? She's just like, well, whatever it takes, you just give me an offer. I don't care. I'll even give it to you if you need me to. I'm like, well, I want you to make money on the property, right? So I don't want to do it for free. So how about $500? And she said, done. I love it. So I texted Ashley and I'm like, hey, send a new DocuSign for $500. And she was like, oh, do you mean the earnest money is $500? I'm like, no, the actual contract is $500. So she's like, okay, well, I don't know how you did that, but talk to me later about it. So anyway, Ashley sent the contract. I walked the buyer through signing it again at the new price at $500. And what's really cool is, since it was a hoarder house and it needed more repairs than I thought, we probably couldn't have sold it at, 30, 35 or whatever it was. I ended up selling that deal for $25,000 the same day. So we made a good profit on that, $24,500. Ashley was super happy because where she had it locked up at, we were only going to make $5 grand, at that point, because she got it for 20, we sold it for 25. So she was happy because her assignment fee was actually bigger. And typically, if I renegotiate something, they just get what they got it out. And if Dispositions does it or whoever renegotiates it, then they get paid on the full amount, but not acquisitions. But in this case, I was nice, and I usually am, and I just give them the full amount, just because I want them to make money, right? My whole goal is for everybody that works with me or for me is to make a lot of money so that they stay with me. So the moral of the story is I got $500 house, and we sold it for $25,000. And it really was easy. I mean, it was the seller's idea, really. She would have did it for free, right? That's literally what she told me. But I just wanted her to get something out of it. I didn't want her to give it to me. Even $500 isn't much, but she was super happy with that. She got $500 at closing, more than she even expected. So that was really cool. But it does boggle my mind that she agreed to 20 and we agreed to 20. And we would have done the deal at 20, I would have tried to get it down a little lower, maybe closer to 15 or 10. But, if they offer something, then do that. Because that's literally what she wanted. Because I don't ever want to take advantage of people. But if that's really all they want, then just do what they want, So she was super happy. Obviously, Ashley was happy. She made more money. My company, made more money. The buyer was happy because they got a $70,000 house for 25 grand. Just needed some cleanup and some maintenance done. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. So anyway, that's how I got a $500 deal. And we've actually done deals where we have gotten free houses that I'll tell you more about in other videos as well. So stay tuned. Please subscribe and like, comment below. if you like this content, or give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. We like thumbs up or thumbs down. Doesn't matter to us. Just give me a thumbs either way, right? Talk to you guys soon, and thanks a lot.